Help you out.
Appreciate it. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to this is episode 2. You are episode 2, Arsene.
I am honored.
This is episode 2. You are hanging right now with the Caffeine and Creatives podcast. I am your host, engineer, producer, creative. To my right here is my brother Arsene.
What's going on?
How are you feeling today?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing great, man. It's a good morning. I'm glad to be out here. This is the first thing of my day, so it's a good jump start to the day.
I asked my guy Arsene up here because why? He is a creative, and I only have creatives on this podcast. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. So, Arsene, tell it first of all, how did we meet, Arsene?
Man, I would say we met through a rehearsal that happened one night. So I was just on Instagram, and Jazz needed a musician, and she just posted it on her story. So I hit her up, and she said, "Yeah, come to the rehearsal." And then I came to the rehearsal, met everybody, including myself. It was probably like 20 people there in Derek's or Digger's apartment, and I was able to meet everybody, just play my keys through there, and then I guess we just hit it off from there, really.
For sure, yeah. Everybody watching, Jazz is one of my artists, one of my best friends.
Shout out to Jazz.
Shout out to Jazz, Phil Jazz, Phil_Jazz on Instagram. Go follow her. This is Caffeine and Creative. So, Arsene, what is your caffeine of choice today?
Ah, man, we talking literally or just like
any form? What is your what is the Arsene wake up like? What is?
Man, I'm telling you, like I have Alexa next to my bed, and Alexa wakes me up every morning, and then she'll give me some news. Sometimes she'll just say wake up, but I have her set at 8:00. So Alexa wakes me up. I grab my phone and I check emails. It's probably not the best thing to do in the morning. But first thing I do is check emails, just to make sure I didn't miss anything from the previous night. Right after checking emails, my computer is right next to my bed. So if it's not already on,
my man is plugged in.
Always.
I'm trying to bring down my connectivity, right. Especially in the mornings specifically. Like I've been trying to get like more. I have it written on like my whiteboard in my closet. It's like meditate.
Right. I was just about to say
I
should be meditating.
I was like, I have like meditate and read before you check your phone. So I'm trying, like, I haven't been doing like an awesome job at that, but like I always try to get in some type of meditation before I like pick up anything electronic.
Right.
Cause it take one Instagram post and you're just sucked in.
Right. It's easy to slide off.
You
schedule,
just and then you
mean?
just next thing you know you just scrolling like you nothing but thumbs all day.
Right.
So yeah, tell the people a little bit about yourself. Like how are you a creative? Like I know what you do. I know that you're amazing at it.
Yeah,
but there's probably a lot of people that are going to see this that's like, who is Arsene? So like how do you create? What is your creative outlet?
Oh man, so it all starts with the keys, man. I've been a keys player since I was a child, really. My brother and sister both played instruments. We played instruments growing up. I was probably the only one to keep going with it. But I was just a keys guy from not to say birth, but probably from 5 and been playing my whole life. When it comes to that, I think I got into production from the homies when I was little in high school. They introduced me to the MPC, and that was just the gear of choice back then. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to use it, but it was just amazing.
I'm starting to feel old when we say stuff like MPC and stuff like that. Even like because you're not talking about like a Kai pad or something like a Yo, like people don't like people. You say MPC now, and there's a lot of people online that's just like, oh yeah, I got an MPC. Like no, we're talking about like standalone. Like what was your first MPC that you got introduced to?
So the first one I used was the 2000.
Okay.
And then the first one that I owned was a 500. So
is that the floppy disk?
No, that was a small little joint. It was portable. You put batteries in it.
Okay.
It was like a quarter of the size of a 2000. You feel me?
Sure.
But that's the first one I owned, and the homie sold it to me for like $500. I was like, word. And mind you, there's no computer. That's a come up, bro. That is a come up. Like, it was small, but it did what it needed to do. You had that authentic MPC sound.
Facts. Ain't nothing. There's nothing like MPC drums.
Nothing like it.
Like so fat. Like for the producers out there, like this might be like the producer podcast episode. Like this is. We'll probably have more producer references this episode than probably any other episode I have.
Yeah. Throw out plugins and whatnot.
Yeah. So what are you using now?
Right now I am, I'm straight in the box now. So Ableton.
Hey, shout out to Ableton. I've been on Ableton for about like. Maybe about 8 months.
That's really good, man.
Yeah, about 6-8 months. Like I'm trying to get in there. I gotta, I have a push.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to get acclimated with the push. The push is dope. Push. If you're gonna use Ableton and you have the ability to get a push, I recommend getting a push with Ableton. It makes learning the program so much easier.
I heard the push streamlines kind of the screen workflow of Ableton.
Yeah, you don't have to touch your laptop.
Really?
At all. Like you can start to finish, open up Ableton, connect your push, and you can literally from thought to layout on the push without touching your computer.
And I think, man, if you want to build up workflow, that's kind of the way to go, man. I'd rather be hitting pads. Right now, I got the launch pad, and that's just like to launch the clips out of Ableton. Sometimes I use it with Roland got something called the MX1 mixer, and then the combination of that just allows me to experiment. So I would say that those are my main, apart from a MIDI board. I mean, everybody's got to have a MIDI board at some point.
Yeah,
but sure. I mean, those are my go-tos. Those are my my scratch pads. So I start off with a scratch pad, and I just create ideas from there. I'll knock out the first part of an idea, and I'll try to move on to the next one quick, just so I can have something in the pocket to work on later. So
man, yes, I was watching Dame Dash on. You ever heard the Earn Your Leisure podcast?
No, I haven't heard.
It's a very good podcast. It's more so about like finance, stuff like that. But it's in the vein of hip hop, but it's a finance podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. Really dope. Dame Dash was on the episode, and he was saying what he tries to do now, like his mode of operation on a day to day, is finish something that you started and start something new. So every day is like you're finishing something that you started maybe the day before, and every day you're starting something new to finish tomorrow.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? So yeah. So I think that mindset is like really dope because one, it doesn't put like pressure on you to finish something. Like all is like only thing you have to keep in mind is to start something.
Right.
Like you don't have to be holding on to like finishing something.
Right.
And then when you like the next day, like, as a producer, if you work on something that's like fire, like an idea, and you're just like, all right, cool, I'm gonna come back to this later. When you come back the next day, you just like you have like straight producer face. Like, for real, I already know what I'm about to do to this. Like, I just gotta add the bass line. Like I'm adding like some strings.
I love to sleep on it sometimes. Not it doesn't have to be literally sleep on it for the night, but like I love to step away and come back.
Yeah,
that's
having fresh ears on production is like probably one of the greatest bits of advice I could give any producer, especially like new producers. Like, I know when I first started making beats, it was just like, all right, like idea after idea after idea after idea after idea. But now it's more so it's like when you get like a little bit more seasoned into like production and stuff, you're more focused on like executing an idea. So, and for us, that can mean a lot. Like when you have, like when you have, like, you know what I mean? Like when you have, like when you have access, like when you start to get access to different things, like now it's like we have friends that like play strings or horns or whatever. Like we might have an idea and be like, all right, like I want a 4-piece string section on this. Right. Like we have the ability to call people and get like a 4-piece string section or something. So like a production idea where it used to be like in college, it used to be like 5 sounds in Logic. Like, you know what I mean? 5 sounds in Logic. Like, you remember those? 5 sounds in Logic. Now it's just like, all right, like I have this idea, like this is about to be in a movie.
Right.
Like I need like we're actually like the Quincy
Quincy,
Jones
yep.
of production, like as far as like your thought process. Question: What is your day to day now look like as a creative? Like, what is a
Man.
typical creative day for you?
So a creative day for me is, I get up, I work on some production. As a musician, I usually have gigs, every now and then.
Mm.
Right now with COVID being the main factor, those gigs are pretty scarce. But I think lately I've been racking up gigs where it's been like, all right, that'll be at night. So in the morning, I'll try to get production out. If I need to create an idea, I'll do that. Or if I need to finish a mix, because I like to separate the two. I like to create the idea, get all my ideas out, get the instruments I need. The next day I might move to the mixing side of it.
That's a big key. Like I
try not to do.
Yeah, man. When you sit there and you like just hammer away at an idea, like trying to get like the kick perfect or something. Like,
just get
like
that.
Yep.
But from there, and then I'll practice too. As a musician, you really got to stay on top of it. And I've fallen off many times, even as a keys player. But you got to continually practice. You got to push yourself. You got to learn new things daily. To the point where you're not getting bored in your own playing.
True.
So where I could bust out some practicing, I'll do that. I just got a bass, so I'm happy.
Hey.
I've been trying to play bass for a minute, but I finally got it, of course, through this whole downtime stuff. So I had time to practice it.
Thanks.
But that's what I try to do per day. Sometimes my days are different, but that's kind of the consistency of what I try to get to.
Okay. So within we know that you're a gigging keyboardist,
right,
or keys player. Is that the main source of your income as a creative?
That is the main source right now. I play gigs, or I even play for churches and whatnot. And then,
man, church come through in the clutch.
Church does come through, man.
Man, let me tell you about church money. Church money is forever on time.
Right. Forever on time. It's there, and I'm just happy it's there for me right now.
Man, that is if you are a musician or an engineer, and you're a believer, because I'm not saying don't get into it if your heart's not into it.
Right.
If you are a believer and you are a producer or a musician or engineer, find you a church. Get into a church. Like, you get to do what you love to do, you have fun, and you get paid.
Right. That's the three right there.
That's the three.
What I mean? And you're perfecting your craft at the same time.
At the same time, man. I've gotten so many more. I've added on to my skill set so much since being at my current church. I go to Eagles Nest Church in Alpharetta.
Okay.
So I got bought in as a monitor engineer. And I just recently got like a content creator marketing team position.
Okay.
Right. Because of COVID. So
COVID created
positions out here. COVID created positions out here, man. And it's just like now that we're not having like physical services, like everything has to be streamlined online. So we went from not having any online presence to like having to hire a whole team of content creators to like try to figure out this online situation and remain active and relevant in the church space. So it's been an undertaking and a huge growth period for me.
And that's the thing, everybody needs to pivot at the time. You just find yourself pivoting. Church
man.
Pivoting. As an artist, you're pivoting. You know what I mean? Things are just different.
We just had a staff meeting, and the pastor was saying he used the pivot as a metaphor. He was saying, make sure that the mission should be your pivot. Always stick to your mission. That's the foot that never moves.
Okay.
The method should be forever changes.
Oh gosh.
Right. So your pivot should be your mission.
Yeah.
Your method should be ever changing.
Okay.
So that spoke a lot to me. I was like, all right, so what is it that we're really trying to get done here? All right, this is the mission. Like, we all know that this is what we're here for. This is what we want the outcome to be. How we get there doesn't matter.
Right.
And that says a lot going into just speaking life and like encouraging words to like other creatives coming up. Especially now, man. Creatives are in a very like weird space right now. we're like man, like either like from especially like if you're an artist musician and being out of work, not being able to do shows. Like I know a bunch of artists like they were getting like their main bag was shows. So it's like having to pivot that and figure out like, all right, how am I going to stay within this? And then there's other we have friends that are creatives that's just like COVID was probably the best thing since sliced bread for them.
Right, that's also the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
You find if you're ambitious, and you'll find different ways.
Yeah.
You'll start creating things. You'll put your mind to work, which is really key in situations like this.
Yeah, I know people are just like, all right, this is. I think coronavirus has like peaked out the true creatives. Like, how creative are you really? Are you good enough to figure out a different way to do the same thing? Or are you creative where it doesn't matter what's going on, you're going to find something to create?
Right.
And that's probably the biggest thing that this whole COVID and quarantine has showed me. Is like if you're going to create, if you're going to be a creative, it's not a on off switch.
Right.
Right. It's one of those things where it's just like, all right, like you have to really decide that this is what you're going to do by any means necessary.
Right.
And then when based on the circumstances, you're just going to figure out what those means are.
Right.
And just go with the flow. What is some advice that you would give anybody aspiring to be in a position similar to yours, trying to come up? Like, let's say I'm an aspiring musician. Matter of fact, our shout out to our producer of the day, Jazz over here. Clap. She just moved here from Cali, correct? Am I right? Cali, Missouri. Okay. She went to Mizzou. But she's from Cali. She just moved out here. Getting into the entertainment music scene in Atlanta. If I'm a new artist, if I'm a new musician, I'm just moving to Atlanta. I'm young. I'm black. You know what I mean? Atlanta is Wakanda. This is where creative black people thrive, is in Atlanta.
Right.
How do I not lose hope in this? Like being somebody, especially this isn't something that you can speak on, because being somebody who moved here from, where'd you come from?
From Boston.
From Boston.
Right. I've been here for 2 years. So
2 years. So he 2 years in. Like, how do you get to this point of comfort?
Man, it's a lot of networking, man. It's a lot of just meeting people and just ready to put yourself in different positions. Go to events. There's tons of events out here that you could go to. I remember I spent a year of just trying to figure it out. And I'm telling you, it wasn't until I first met you and the crew that, all right, I seen how important the networking part was. So when I went to that practice, I met everybody from there, and then I started meeting more people.
Right.
And that's the thing. And you just got to, be ready to meet people and at the same time continue to work your own craft. The fact that you'll always be ready for any opportunity. So you're always creating, you're always preparing yourself for the next opportunity, no matter where it may come from.
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to have things on deck. That's how I say it. Just have either your music on deck. You got to have your abilities on deck, whether you need to, if somebody asks you for something next week, that you'll be ready to do it. You know what I mean? And then just carve out your space doing that, really.
Okay. So it's more so like a stay ready so you don't have to get ready in Atlanta. Atlanta is a very stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Yeah. Atlanta is not the place where you get ready necessarily. Right. Like you can't. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely like it's a lot of room, and the energy and the vibe down here is very nurturing for growing artists for sure. But it's definitely, I would say, in my personal opinion, it's a space where the more intentional you are with what it is that you want to get out of being in this space, whether that be playing keys, being a musician, being a producer, you have to dedicate your time to that.
Right.
Like, I'm an engineer, producer. Engineering pretty much pays my bills. Producing is my love. So it's like, I wouldn't want to make a living from producing unless it was on accident. You know what I mean? Like that's not that. So it's like for me, I wouldn't like put myself out there as a producer. Like you can ask me to engineer anything any day of the week, and I can do it with my hands tied behind my back, eyes closed type thing. Like that's my bag for sure. But you definitely have to just dedicate your time and your networking to having that purpose of like, this is what I want to get out of it. This is my ROI that I'm looking for. And so I'm going into every networking possibility, every situation, knowing what I have to offer. And I'm spending my time outside of those networking opportunities to really sharpen those skills. You know what I mean? So that whenever I'm in those spaces, it's like, you never want to be. I've been caught in a few networking situations where it's like, hey, what do you do? Yeah, whatever you need. You know what I mean? You don't want to be like, it's good to be a chameleon out here. Yeah. But I found like, let people find out the other sides that you have to offer. Like if you walk into a room, be one person. Right. You know what I mean? Like this is if you ask me to do this any day of the week, any time of day, 24 hours, 7 days a week, I can get this done for you. Right. This one thing. And then it just flourishes from there. Right. Like people are just, you start meeting people and they're like, hey, you know anybody that can blah, 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 blah. Hey, yeah, matter of fact, I got you. What's your turnaround? Right. You know what I mean? You know, like I can do that for you, bet. I got you.
And that's an important thing because it comes through in the relationship. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Once you talk about doing things in your sleep, yeah, that's your solid thing that you could be ready to do on the drop of a dime. Right. And as they call you back and you build that relationship, then it becomes like, hey, what else can you do? You know what I mean? And it becomes easier to show those other sides.
Exactly.
And that allows you to flourish too. I mean, get you back after that.
Because when people see like, if you're really good at one thing and then people are curious about like any other talents that you have, because to be honest, nobody in Atlanta does one thing. Right. nobody like you can say resume. That you can say that you're a whatever. Everybody knows that you out here getting at least 3 different bags. Right. Like people are out here with 3-4 different business cards. Like any day of the week. It just depends on when you catch them. But yeah, definitely stick to that. I think it's do you have anything that you want to add to?
No, apart from that.
Did you have any questions? That I know you said earlier you was like,
man, I think my main question was like, I guess as you're getting better at what you do, everybody has a certain type of tipping point that allows them to level up. Mm-hmm. Like how do you know when you're there?
How do you know that you're at the level up point?
How do you, like the tipping point where you're about to level up? Like, I guess in my case, it's like if I'm getting better at keys, I know there's a certain goal I'm trying to reach or a certain sound that I'm trying to do. And once I get that, in my sleep, that's how I've hit the tipping point and I've leveled up. What do you see as your tipping point?
I tried. That's a good question that I haven't thought about. But I try to think of it like a hold up. Let me think about this because I gotta. Yeah, man. Because leveling up to me, I've kind of built my day-to-day work ethic around making the work the goal and not the outcome the goal. Mm-hmm. So if I want to become a better producer, my goal is not to have a beat that I'm proud of. My goal is to make 5 beats a week.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's like the level up is in the consistency.
Okay.
So like the work. So the work, the work is the goal. So it's like, how much can I bust down this goal? Like my goal is to have whatever accolade. So what does that accolade consist of? Yeah. All right, I need to be consistent with this. And for me, it's just a matter of scheduling. It's like when I know, like when I'm getting not overwhelmed, but when I'm getting busy with a certain task, like I see like, all right, people are calling me to do this specific thing like a lot lately. Now it's time not for me to scale back, but now your time with that one thing becomes more valuable. Okay. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So it's like how people are like, all right, price going up. Right. Price going up. When it gets to the point where it's like, all right, like I have to charge more for this service.
Right.
Because the time in the day just is not suitable for me to do it for anything less than this. And not even from like a monetary standpoint, but for me to better value my time, to have the quality of inquiries that I seek to have. Like, I went through like a whole like 4 year period of working in studios, leaving the studio, having a client list, losing the whole client list, having to rebuild a client list twice.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
It takes work.
It takes work. And until you lose it and get it back a couple times, then you really not going to know when it's time to level up. But it was like, you have to be willing to, like, whatever you really want, you have to be willing to lose all of it.
So, like, when you mean lose, it's like intentionally, or
no,
like
not even
it's,
intentionally.
okay.
Like, it's just one of those things where it's like you build up this rapport, you have like this steady, like, streamline, whatever, and circumstances just pop up to where it's like, all right, this is not conducive to that next level of my life.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that I no longer, like, I'm putting more stress on my life. And more, like, I'm taking more hours away from, like, me. I'm married with a child. So it's like, I'm taking time away from these other things that I want to be doing. When it gets to that point, that's when it's like, it's not that you lost it. It's just that you're not in that season anymore.
Right.
So it's like your life will literally tell you, like, all right, you need to level up.
Right. Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like I have to.
That's
I have no other choice but to either. And if you're I was about to say if you're a good human, but like if you're like responsible and you're like a real business person, then you realize that it's not necessarily you losing maybe those clients or whatever it may be. Maybe it's allocating those to somebody else that looks up to you. Like, hey, like, I have an engineer that hits me up all the time. It's like, hey, whenever, like, if you have some work for me to do, or if I can come to the studio and just sit in, or whatever the case may be. And now it's getting to the point where it's like, all right, bet. Like, I have like some clients where it's like, all right, like, I still want to touch their stuff on the back end of stuff, but I don't necessarily have the time to be like recording you on the schedule that you want to be recording.
Right.
So like you can start delegating, and that's when you start getting like real power. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you have people under you that you can delegate your work to, like, and you're like, now you're starting to become a blessing for other people.
Right.
So it's like, so it's like I can just say, like, all right, cool. Here's an opportunity that came to me, and I can like empower somebody else to have like that work, or that work ethic, or like that one thing that may have taken more time out of my day than I would like to take out of. But I don't want to say no, and like you're still like, you figure out a way to get everything done even if it's not you doing it. Right. So then that turns into the level up on accident.
Right. And what I like about that, it's like it sounds like a constant flow of energy, man.
Yeah, it's like, bro, it's just good.
You're passing it off to other people, and at the same time you're building new energy, and it's
right. And it's a stream. That's why I was going to say, like, if you're a good human. Right. So it's like, if you're a good person, like, it's like you're not stingy with your work. Like, I used to be in a space where like I would overcrowd my calendar and my schedule just in case, like, because in the entertainment business, like, anything can fall through the, you know what I mean? So yeah, we all know, like, you can wake up, you can have a full schedule, and that turned into one thing to do. Right. And now you're trying to figure out how, like, all right, well, now I got to figure out how I'm about to make that money back.
Yeah, your whole life starts looking different. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So it's like now, I'm getting to the point now where it's like my schedule is kind of dictates itself, and I can kind of fill in my gaps with the overflow of inquiries, because I'm at a point now where I'm blessed enough to have more people asking me to do stuff than I can handle. Right. So that to me is like the actual level up point. Like, it tells you before you're ready for it. Right. Like, I can't do this. Right. but this is all good stuff.
Right.
Like, you know, I have more good stuff on my plate than I can handle. Let me. That's when you start blessing other people. Just
Right.
like, hey, I got a job for you. You want to get, boom, I'll pay you this. Oh, extra, I'll pay you what I was gonna get paid.
Right. Right.
Boom, hey, you want this? All
It's
right,
like
come
the
on.
silver
show up.
lining right there.
Yeah,
man.
and then
Just-
once you start getting to that flow, more stuff just. I don't know. It's you put it out, you get it back.
That's the thing. And it's like, it also goes to you can't hold on to things, you know what
At
I mean?
all.
Like, energy comes and goes, man. Just the way the gigs come and go, just the way money comes and goes, you got to be ready to give it out at the same time you're going to receive it, because it's just going to be a flow of energy coming right back to you.
Facts. That sounds like a perfect segue for Yasir's words of wisdom for today. I usually try to not usually, because this is episode number 2, so it's not usual yet. But I have this segment called Yasir's words of wisdom. For those of you who don't know, Yasir is my son. He will be 4 in December. I'm getting old.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I have a 4-year-old.
Right.
Yasir's words of wisdom for me, just a quick breakdown. These are lessons that I'm learning in my life that I would like to instill in my son. These are things that I feel like not even from a father-son relationship, but if you had anything that you learned throughout your life, hopefully that you're in a position where you would like to put that knowledge into the people around you. And my biggest influence right now is my son. So this segment is called Yasir's Words of Wisdom. I usually try to take one thought and break it down into like at least 3 different perspectives. So it's the same thought from 3 different outlooks. And hopefully one of them speaks to you. Hopefully. Let me see if I can figure out where I had this one. Boom. So today's Yasir's words of wisdom. The most dangerous person in any room is the kind person that knows their shit.
Right.
Speaks for itself. Do something that will make people wonder how you did it and have fun doing it. We call this purpose.
Right.
Stop creating things you can't tell everyone in your life about. That is my favorite of the 3.
Right. That's a heavy one.
Yep. If we're creatives, we like to create things. We like to take ideas that don't exist and make them tangible, real things in real life. My biggest takeaway for this episode is don't create something that you can't share. That goes back to the being a blessing to other people. I guess that's a revolving theme of this episode. Don't create anything that you can't share. At some point in time, the things that you create will be more or bigger than you. It's not about what you can handle. It's about what is going to progress the culture, the world, the human race as a bigger whole collective. So don't create anything that you can't share. Don't create anything that you can't tell all of your friends and all of your loved ones about, because if you can't, then why are you creating?
And I think that's something that, as all musicians, we get into sometimes.
Right.
Just getting real deep into it. Granted, you could be creating a new idea or trying to, create some type of new style or something like that. But if you can't communicate it out to the world, or if the world doesn't understand it, sometimes you need to go back to the drawing board and figure how you need to rework it. But yeah, if you can't explain it, then
what are we doing?
Right.
Why are we here? We're here. We are creatives. We create to make the world a better place.
Right.
That is the end of the day. That is the biggest thing. Creatives make the world go round, in my opinion. So this has been a great episode. I appreciate you, sir.
No problem.
For coming through.
Great to be here.
This has been episode 2. And I appreciate you guys. Y'all have a great day. I will holla at you.
All right.